The first Sunday of May is Battle of the Atlantic Day, a day set aside to remember the loss and the legacy of a campaign that lasted 6 long years. Ceremonies were held in communities across the country. Here in Halifax, hundreds gathered in Point Pleasant Park and also aboard HMCS Montreal to remember the sacrifices made by Canadians more than 70 years ago. Here's CTV's Alan April.
On a wet and gray morning, hundreds gathered at Halifax's Point Pleasant Park to remember those who took part in the Battle of the Atlantic.
We feel that soul in the thousands of names of the dead, fallen in combat in the Battle of the Atlantic, and is memorialized on the monument behind me.
The first Sunday in May marks the 72nd anniversary of the longest continuous military campaign of World War II.
My husband was Navy, and my mother was a nurse in the First World War, and my father was a doctor in the First World War, and of course I'm here.
Today's anniversary has a special meaning for veteran Ron Waddleton.
I was in the Battle of the Atlantic. I was convoy duty during the war from 1941 when I was only 17 until the war was finished in 45, and I got an honorable discharge.
It's a time for the 92-year-old to reflect on his friends who survived the war and those who didn't.
You have a lot of fond memories of your comrades, of the way we are, friendship, companion, and just the closest of it, you know, because when you're on board ship, everybody's sleeping in the same room. I used to be in the hammock all the time.
Between 1939 and 1945, more than 4,200 Canadian sailors, airmen, and members of the Merchant Navy lost their lives during the battle.
HMCS levies.
On land, the bells toll for the 33 Navy warships that were lost. A traditional committal of ashes ceremony was scheduled to be held aboard the HMCS Montreal. While the fog delayed the ship's departure, it didn't dampen the spirits of those taking part.
It's an opportunity for us to pay tribute to all the sailors that came before us and acknowledge their accomplishments. If it wasn't for the navies keeping the supply lines open to Europe during World War II, the outcome of the war could have been drastically different.
A sobering reality that was recognized today by both young and old.
History can be forgotten if you don't come out to things like this. I think it's just important that kids these days know what people are fighting for.
It's very, very, very important to just remember the past, because the past is your future, you know, and I'm very, very proud of the young people today. They do remember it.
Remembering the efforts of the brave Canadians who sacrificed their lives to defend our freedom. Alan April, CTV News, Halifax.